On this week's episode of Damsels in the DMs.
Sometimes hardships is just it's about changing course and just embracing the new path. So much of our culture here in the United States is about like the goal. Yeah,
Mm.
it's about like, oh, I'm gonna get this one booking or this one award or this one, but what about the journey, right?
This message is intended as a reminder that we are not licensed professionals, not psychiatrists or psychologists. If you have a serious problem, please seek professional help. The National Suicide Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255.
There's some damsels in the DM.
Yes, queen.
Tell us what's the vibe. There's some damsels in the DM. Please tell us what's the vibe. DMs, yeah we see them, yeah we read them. DMs, we don't need them, we just leave them.
Please.
Yeah.
It's going down in the DMs. Bye.
Oh, boom, ba-dum, boom. I don't know what song I'm singing, but I'm feeling very sing-songy because our guest today is so sing-songy as well. Also, I just got out of a musical, Arena, a house musical written by Abel Alvarado through Casa 101, put on by TNH Productions. We celebrated a 2-day special experience this past weekend at the LA LGBT Center at the Renberg Theater. Oh my gosh!
Amazing. Well, hello and welcome to Damsels in the DMs. That was a very unique and great introduction, and that's how it should be every time.
I mean, I was just trying to, boom, create that draw, that instant grab for our listeners. But yeah, this weekend was dope. How was your weekend?
You know, my weekend was great. It was both wholesome and fun at the same time. Yeah, what did I do? Oh, I had a little solo weekend for like Saturday during the day and Friday night, and then Saturday night I went out with my friends, but I walked around Silver Lake. I appreciated the neighborhood.
I love that.
Went to some shops and we're talking to the shopkeepers and just had such a cute little Silver Lake girly day by myself. And it was just so nice to enjoy my neighborhood.
I like when we can do that, when we can have like one-on-one conversations with the store owners or whoever. And it's like, it kind of makes the whole neighborhood feel like your own, or at least
Yeah,
like a
you just
special tap into the pulse of what's going on.
you feel like Belle and Beauty and the Beast, like you're in
Yes.
a village with your people and you're just hanging out and you're saying hi to everyone, and that's just, I wish I did this sooner so that Silver Lake could have been my little village. But you know what? I leave in 1.5 months, so I just have to do it all now while I can.
And how appropriate. Talk about alignment. My goodness, the fact that you're talking about Beauty and the Beast and then you're going to Paris. I mean, like how
Oh, weird how that happened.
cultural and continental connections are abundant. My goodness, that's so cool. Oh my goodness.
I'm
Also
excited.
cool is the fact that like that's such a short amount of time. How is that going? Like,
my gosh.
what is your mind feeling right now?
It's not. It's really not feeling right now because my heart is in such stress state.
Yeah.
That I don't know what's happening with my body. We're gonna be fine again when I'm settled and whatever. But yeah, the past couple of months, when I really made my decision and when it was like, really, really like time to, yes, this is happening, has been just a state of chaos. But yeah, we're there. I just did a whole closet clean out on Saturday. I have all these clothes that I want to sell or donate. I have to think about everything that I have to do. I just don't want to. And then finding apartments in Paris, all of this, but it's okay because it's a fun time and it's going to be so great and it's going to be so worth it. So I need to think about the positives and not focus on the part of it,
I know, that's right. Well, that's good. I'm happy to hear that, in spite of how much there is to do, you still have a clear sense of what needs to be done. And I trust and believe that it will all get done in the time that it needs to.
Thank you. Thank you. How was your weekend? How did it all go?
Fantastic. It was so much fun. We slammed 3 weeks. We had to slam like rehearsal time within 3 weeks, right? and it was like a full 2-hour production of a musical that is so beautifully written with um, the talent of Abel Alvarado and lyrics by Gabriel Maldonado, directed by Rigo Tejeda, and produced by dramaturg Patricia Zamorano and Felipe, whose last name I'm forgetting now. But the talent, oh my goodness! When I first auditioned, they invited me to be a part of the ensemble, so I said yes, and then they also invited me that same day to participate in the reading of the script that they were working on, and the talent that's part of the story had already been with the story for I think what, 5 years, maybe less than, or around that time frame. So I was, blown away by the voices that I was experiencing that first day. Then I was also intimidated because I had to learn the choreography and like songs um, within a matter of 3 weeks with people who had already been doing it for quite some time now. But yeah, it was just a really magical experience of getting on board and just doing what needed to be done and celebrating people along the way. I even got to help with social media stuff, which is not my forte, but yeah, I don't know. It's been a really beautiful time of connecting and celebrating and storytelling. So I'm super, super grateful, but
Oh.
not as grateful for our guest that we have on today, writer, director, and actor, and academia extraordinaire, Teddy Alexis Rodriguez, who I collaborated with last year and this year on Daddy Date, but he is working on expanding and developing a feature-length project called How Did Edward Lose His Accent? Oh my God, what an amazing and talented individual to have on the podcast. I'm so excited.
This was honestly like I love talking to him, and the fact that he is a physicist, well, I don't even know if that's the right word, but a professor of physics and
Mhm.
also a storyteller and is in the theater department. Just this is a unique human being, and it was just so lovely to talk to him. And yeah, I'm excited to get into it.
Yes, let's get into the wrinkles of all the gray matter. My goodness. Hello, my goodness. Thank you so much for making time to spend with us here on the podcast. My goodness, Teddy, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's my honor.
Thanks
Yes.
for coming on.
Oh, thank you guys. Already with the sweetness. It's gonna be a good time.
So sweet, so sweet. So, as we're jumping in, tell us and our listeners a little bit about who Teddy Alexis Rodriguez is and, where you're from, where are you at, and where do you see yourself in the future?
Who am I? I'm still trying to figure that one out. So I was born in Ponce, Puerto Rico. That's an island in the Caribbean. I think most people know it, but just in case. And yeah, I was born from a family that was a working family. My parents are teachers. And I always thought about teaching as an option for me. So I have a lot of education background. And I moved to Texas to pursue my doctorate. So I also did my bachelor's and my master, but we don't have to go into all of that. And then eventually I found my way to Los Angeles, which is where we crossed paths, and that's kind of like the short version of
Ooh, okay.
moi.
So when did you make that move from Puerto Rico to America?
When I was finishing my master's, I got full righted into my master's program. That means that the school kind of take care of all your tuition, and they give you money kind of to attend the program. So I was very lucky in that way. Also, I was very good academically, so that's how that happened. And I was looking into doctoral programs, and in the island there were only two programs that were not really a fit for me. So I started looking in the US, because Puerto Rico has a very unique situation with the United States compared to other countries in Latin America, and it's that we are territory, but we're not incorporated to the United States. So in that gray area, Puerto Ricans are considered not considered, we are United States citizens. So to me, to go to a school in the United States was just, I wasn't considered an international student, just an out of state. And that's a difference in a lot of money, because when you're international, your fees go way up. So I was looking for a program and applying around until a program in Texas accepted me. And that's how I did the jump. I was mid-20s, really young when I moved to Texas.
I have to ask, sorry, I did not grow up in America, so I was definitely hit by a lot of culture shock. Especially I went to Wisconsin, so moving to Texas, like, how was that like for you?
Well, it was a very big cultural shock because, it was the first time that I experienced racism, but violent racism, because we have in Latin America a version of racism, and colorism obviously exists, but the violence that is built into racism in the United States is a little different. And when you don't grow up with it, it's very shocking. And I studied English as a second language, and it's not the same as being immersed in the language, that learning it just like academically. So that was a whole another shock too. So it was shock after shock. Then I was in a very white program, so I had to navigate all of that, a lot of politics and all of that. It was a lot of shocks all at once. It was basically like being stuck in a dryer in the fast cycle, like just like what's happening. Yeah, I'm all about the metaphors. You can ask Alejandro.
Well, one thing that I really admire about you in, collaborating with you is you have this ability to tap into multiple hemispheres at the same time of the brain. It's really cool how, you are so talented and able-minded in physics. I mean, my goodness, anything with math is just like a foreign language to me. But then to be able to counsel others on more creative expressions like acting and filmmaking, it's just, it's incredible. Did you have an idea that you were going to be so skilled in both facets of life, in terms of like mathematics and in theatrics, when you were pursuing the doctorate, or was that something that kind of evolved over time? And
yeah, that's a great question. So when I was an undergrad, I guess we're focusing this very academically, which I love. Since that's what I do, I'm a professor. So when I was doing my undergrad, my dad. So I was 17 when I started my undergrad. So that happened not because I was advanced or anything. It was because some ratchetness that happened in the island. So my mom went to enroll us in kindergarten, and we were. I have a twin sister, and we were 4, and she's like, they need to get into kindergarten. We need to start And they were like, well, we don't have kindergarten this year. If you want, just start them in first grade, and they'll just get hold for one day and do first grade twice. We ended up doing so well that we just were a year in advance. We were not like gifted or anything, but I know things that happen in the island only, on the island. So I started school. My dad was like, you're not majoring in theater because I know what you want to do. You want to get a degree in theater. You have to do something else, which was it sounded like it was aggressive, but it was a great advice, because I decided to be a physics major with a double major in theater, which in the 90s, that was really difficult to do because it wasn't built in for it. So I was doing both, and they both kind of inform what I was going to do. So fast forward to when I'm getting my doctorate, talking about the politics and stuff that I had to navigate, because my master's wasn't in theater. The theater department was like, well, we're not gonna let you teach for us until later, which made my financial situation really hard, because when you're doing your doctorate, either you have a big scholarship or you're teaching for the school for really cheap. So they give you tuition really cheap. That's kind of like the trick, right? So I went to the physics department. I was like, hey, I have a master's in physics. So I started teaching for the physics department while I'm getting my theater degree. So I never was like a physics or a theater person. I was always both at the same time. And I really liked it that way because it's just like you said, it's different areas of your brain, and I just feel very balanced. Like right now, I'm teaching both in different schools, obviously, and it's just like I'm prepping my script analysis class in my physics lab, so it's just becomes so natural to me. So I feel blessed, to be honest. I feel blessed that I get to do both. You know
I
what I
wish
mean? Like
I knew
fulfilled.
you. I wish I knew you when I was in college because physics is the one class that was holding me back.
Oh no.
Great. I had physics tutors. I was in like study groups, and I couldn't, my brain just could not work in that way to understand it.
You know
And
what I
it's
think it is?
Mm,
I think it's most of the times, I don't know if that's your case, but most of the times it's not taught well.
yeah,
What I
probably.
notice, it's that, I mean, and it's something that, believe it or not, is one of the least abstract sciences. It literally is physics. It's things that you can observe and see. You know, it's electricity, it's gravity, it's things that we can see. And so it should be easier to teach, but
I
it's
don't
not
know
the
what
case.
it was, to be honest. Like when the tutor would explain it to be like, oh, I understand. And then we look at the problem, like, I don't get it. I don't get any of this. This is gibberish. Like, this doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to what you were saying. But that's really impressive that you have both. And you're still doing that right now, which is really cool.
I'm
Yeah,
also
yeah.
curious. Do you have
Um,
any influences in your journey as a physics person or as a storyteller that had an influence and still have an impact today?
Of course, I have a lot of influences, you know, and the person in the theater that I did my first show, that theater was called Figueroa Chapel, Ramon Figueroa Chapel, and that dude, believe it or not, had a theater degree and a physics degree.
I
And
know
if
that's
you
right. Hell yeah.
and if you don't believe in how the universe speaks to you, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. You know what I mean? Because
That's
those things are not, they cannot be coincidence. They're too aligned.
yeah.
I have, you know, most of these physicists, by the way, like Newton and all these people that there were gay men that love art.
Huh. That's
Believe it
amazing.
or not.
That's so dope.
Newton is just one day, like he was the one that discovered gravity, right? Mathematically. And that's on quotes for all the audio listeners. And I bet, and they never say this, but I bet he was just dreaming about some guy under the famous story is that he's just under an apple tree and an apple falls. And then he starts thinking about why would the apple not stay there and falls down. And then he starts thinking about there must be a force that it's pulling it down. And that's how he starts unpacking what gravity is. So yeah, all of those things, I think they're connected. I don't know how, because I am not that smart.
Yeah.
But they are.
Wait. I want to go back to what is the hypothesis of him being gay or
Yeah,
levels
yeah,
of
I
gay?
just
was
think that's all
waiting for that to-
connected somehow. You know what I mean? I don't know how, but all of those things have to be connected
Okay.
somehow.
You were like, he was studying gravity and the apple fell from the tree, so therefore,
Therefore,
okay.
it has to be. No, he's a gay man. That we know that for sure, and it doesn't have anything to do with it. But I'm just saying that it just all connected with what I am, because we were talking about influences, right?
Yeah.
So I think those are all things that are connected for us to be fully who we are, in a way.
So can you take us back to the
Uh-huh.
past and when you were a kid, or when this started, this love for film and acting and directing? When did that start? And can you walk us through that journey to where you are today?
It really started, nothing starts like in a moment. I think we all want like the moment, right, that we see the shiny, sparkly heels. But I think for me, I had a best friend when I was in middle school, and she loved Hollywood musicals, like the old ones from like the 50s, like Singing in the Rain and all that stuff. She loved. And the only way to get them, this is early 90s, to get them in the island was, I don't know I don't know how old are you, but I'm assuming you're younger than me. But there was something called the Columbia Club, and you will get a mail envelope, and you could get like 10 DVDs for like $1. It was like a mail thing. You
was like a,
do you remember?
it's like a catalog thing, right? There was this
Yeah,
like
it was.
brochure where you could like select.
But
and,
you
like,
had to do like a number. Like you
Yeah.
had to order with like a number. It was like so old school, y'all. They're way back. So you will put numbers in there, and then you wait like weeks and weeks, and then the package will arrive with all the movies. And I
Yeah.
remember every time we'll like get more musicals, and because of what you order, they will like print, because they won't give you the full catalog. It's thousands of movies. They just give you like kind of like what your the algorithm will be. They will suggest, and that's how we find out about. The internet wasn't a thing, so we couldn't Google what the movies were. So that we were started discovering, like, oh, another Fred Astaire movie. And that was always so inspiring to me. Like all of those things that were connected to each other, like, you know, how Singing in the Rain has some other numbers from other movies. All of that was so mind-blowing to me. So my mom had a typewriter because she was the first one to go to college from her family. And she got a typewriter to write her papers. And for everybody that doesn't know, a typewriter was a thing that just typed words right into a paper, and it was mechanical. This is for all the younglings. Clack, clack, clack. So I love that sound of, like, I thought it was so professional to see somebody typing a story or something. So that always kind of intrigued me, like, oh, I have the power to write something and then make it look. And because I had a typewriter, that was like, quote unquote, my privilege, right? So I had the power to write things. And since I was little, I found a couple stories that I wrote. I will write like these tiny like morsels of stories. And that was always very accessible to me. And when we got to high school, me and my best friend, we auditioned to be in a performing arts high school. And we got in, and so it was all a government program, but it had all the classes. It had makeup, it had acting, it had directing.
Damn.
And that's how we started. Kind of like my storytelling was that way. That's why when my dad told me do not do theater, he knew where my mind was at, because I was already in the performing arts high school, which was an after school program. So it wasn't like you couldn't get your high school degree there. It was just the theater stuff that you would do that. So I will do that after high school, my actual mainstream education. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes, definitely. And also, what a smart parent advice to give you.
Yeah,
know?
keep it balanced. Little did he know, because my parents are truly boomers, that the economy was gonna get so crazy, right? Because for them, upper mobility was the thing. My grandparents were sharecroppers. They worked the sugarcane fields. And because my parents got an education and started teaching, they were able to buy a house, which was one of the first houses that the family as a whole had, you know? So those are things that are generational change. Yeah, those things are not as available anymore because things are very different right now in the world. Not to get super serious, but so I think there's a lot of foretelling there when he's giving me that advice when I'm 16 and applying for college years and years ago.
So what
know,
other
did-
tools have you
Sorry.
been able to implement in overcoming some challenges that you faced in your career or personal growth?
The tools are always ever changing, right? Because the situations are always different, right?
Yes, that's right.
I think the best thing to do is what I do is I try to always have something what I call pockets of joy. So it's a moment that I take that it's non-consequential and non-intellectual. So I'm going to do something that is going to be fun for me, but it's not going to have any consequence. So I'm not doing drugs. I'm not overeating. I'm not doing anything that has consequence, but it brings me joy. So I assure that it's healthy, but also I assure that I decompress my intellectual. So I have something that is called cognitive overload. That means that I'm always thinking too much about things. So I have to be very conscious about that. And try to work out as much as I can with the very little time that we have with all commutes and all that stuff. So I think those are two tools that are always work.
Love it.
You were gonna say something, Ash?
It was just a little side note about the sugar
Uh-huh.
cane. Did you drink a lot of sugarcane juice when you were little or eat sugarcane?
Not a lot, because after the economy changed in Puerto Rico, so we switched from agricultural to more industrial. So all of those things were abandoned. So every now and then, my dad will do we will call it jarapo, which was the sugarcane juice, which my dad is really anti-sugar, which again, another thing that was like really forward for him in the 80s and 90s, because he always said that sugar was bad for us, even though they were always saying that it wasn't, right? Remember that back in the day? So it was like a treat, like very rare. So yes.
Yes. Okay. Cool. I grew up on sugarcane. Like that was my version of any treat, candy, whatever. It'd be sugarcane.
It's a very sweet, like overwhelmingly sweet.
But
Yeah.
I felt like I was addicted to it as a child. Like even now, if anyone mentions sugarcane, I'm like, where?
Yeah, well, they said it's more addicted than some don't like crack. Like it's like that addictive. So, hey.
A word from our sponsors.
I read something about your first play that you did in high school and what a director said to you specifically about and I don't want to say, I want you to tell the story, and kind of I just want to know like if that experience had impacted your decision to had like not hindered or kind of like I guess molded your decision to still keep going and get into acting and directing and all of that. So let's just go back and you can tell us.
I would say it's more than that. I think it was life-changing, that experience. So it wasn't in high school, it was in college. But it was my first college play. And what happened was, so I go through my performance art high school, so I get to college, and there's a theater program, and everybody's kind of like starting out, right? There's not a lot of theater going on in Puerto Rico, so everybody was kind of new. So when I go to auditions, I murder this thing, right? So I'm just like, little 17-year-old gay Teddy is like murdering this thing, because of course I have technique at that point. I've already been into a performance art high school. So I booked one of the roles. I'm super excited. And something that happened during that time is that there was a strike the student strike on campus. So when that happened, usually that was in order to keep tuition prices the same, because they were doing an increase. This informs the story at the end, so please indulge me. So then so we go into strike. We're like 2 weeks into strike, so we're in the middle of rehearsal, and the director is like, we're gonna keep rehearsing, we're gonna meet like off campus somewhere. So I keep going to rehearsals. The campus is shut down for 2 weeks. So half of the cast just decides, we're going home, see you later. So we come back, the strike is over, we get back to the theater, reset the dates, all that mess, because everything is like pushed like 2 weeks. And so the director is like, I am going to fire everybody that was absent from the strike, which fair, right? You missed the fair-ish. So he got rid of them. And then he decides that because I am too gay for the role, that he was gonna fire me too, even though that I knew my lines, I was doing everything on point, like super professional. I wasn't doing anything. And then I realized, well, this is gonna be a thing now. So it just really switched my brain into thinking more about starting producing and starting writing my own things with purpose, because at the time I was writing some stuff, but it was just, I never took it super serious, or had any focus on specifically guiding it towards my storytelling. And when I was 17, it really was the time that I started kind of like switching gears into really focusing on that. There's been other forks on the road when I'm doubting myself or like kind of changing focus, but that was the time. If we're gonna take it like one time, it's that time when I was 17 and that director did that to me.
Yeah.
So was that a long story?
No, that was a
No.
great story.
Yeah.
A really not nice thing to go through at 17, but I love the way that you took it and ran with it. And it was you're a child at 17. That's a baby. But
Yeah.
you took that and you ran with it and you made your own stuff and you were like, you know what, this person said this to me, but am I gonna be upset about it or am I gonna take it and make my own shit with it? And that's really powerful and really amazing that you did that at 17.
Yeah, and the idea, I'm not gonna say that I wasn't bitter about it, because I mean there's always a time to be mad, kind of like heal. So all of those things, I know a lot of people try to push some of those feelings away, but what I did with it is kind of like regroup with it, right? There was definitely some anger in there too, but what I did is not kind of like sit down and just stop. It just kind of like I'm like, oh look, there's more fire for my for my power. It just was feeding into that energy. So yeah, it was life changing for sure.
Yeah.
Character building, my goodness. What an interesting impact it must have had on your own fortitude and really like believing in yourself and picking yourself up with your own bootstraps. I mean, that's wild. That's really wild. But here you are, striving and succeeding and creating and collaborating and getting all the accolades and positive momentum. I mean, how exciting that we were able to do Daddy Date twice. We were able to do it in the fall of 2022 and
God.
now in the spring, winter spring of
Yeah,
2023. Where, just a side note onto
sure.
successful experiences that we've shared, can you share with the audience where we can see Daddy Date next, possibly?
So Daddy Date right now, Daddy Date is resting, right?
Daddy Date's resting. Okay, yes, she's resting.
So we did it, just a little bit of context. We did it in a short and sweet, and Alejandro and I you've been the one in the helm from the beginning, right? Because I reach out to you from the beginning. I'm like, hey, I have this idea. What do you think? He's like, write it, go for it,
do it. Yeah.
And that's my impression of Alejandro.
I was spot on. It was so spot on.
So we did it at the Short and Sweet Festival. We advanced to semifinals, almost finals. And then we also did it at the Frida Kahlo Festival. And we're now trying to see if we can get into the Brisk. We'll know about that at the end of the summer. And then we'll see where that journey of Daddy Day takes us. And it's been a really, really fun ride. From that kid that was 17 on cast to that same kid, just a little more grown up, creating these spaces for fellow gay men to express themselves, kind of like be loud or be as queer as they can. So it's been fun. What do I have in the docket? Well, I do have an exclusive if you want it, Mr. Alejandro.
Oh, please let us have it. Let us have it all.
So the next thing that what I'm be working is that my full length, How Edward Loses His Accent, is gonna have a workshop production in Fullerton College next semester. So I'm really, really excited. That's what I'll be doing. So it's developing more that script for a workshop production for my school, which, believe it or not, that is really rare because these schools really like, the Shakespeare's, the Chekhov's. It's really rare for them to do new works, and much less new works from somebody that is local to them. So I'm really excited. So that's
What a
next.
testament to your strength, your power as a storyteller, your gifts. I mean, my goodness. As surprising as it might be, how well deserved it is that you get to see your story live in this way at such an institution. That's really dope.
Yeah, it only took 30 years, you guys.
Hey, Al.
We're here.
All right, who's counting?
Yeah, that's what there's this queer author. She actually not queer. She's just really queer friendly. Kathy Griffin. She always say, "I'll wait you out, honey. I'm always here. I'll be back. I'll be back when you're all done with other." So yeah. So I'm really excited. So yeah, it will be done with students. The students are going to take the journey with me, and then we'll keep moving those scripts, and then that date we do have plans to film it at some point. So that's also in the docket. Yes.
Absolutely. And I understand you are quite a big fan of having your morning coffee. Are there any other aids in your day that you like to implement? Any tools that you like to, or routines rather, that help keep you churning throughout the 24 hours?
Love me a coffee in the morning. I brew it myself. My mom sends it to me from Puerto Rico, because once you have Puerto Rican coffee, what is it that they say? Once you have Puerto Rican coffee, you can't go back. That's not a thing, but you know what I mean.
It's something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
I love me my coffee in the morning, and in the mornings when I do my pockets of joy. So something that I do is I try to sing a little bit. Yeah, so there's show tunes going on in my car. I have a long commute from here. I live in Hollywood. Fullerton is in another county, so always try to be, relax and get the day going. And the alarm is really aggressive, y'all. If you think about it, how you wake up informs so much of your day. So I have to do an alarm. I have to wake up at 5, but after that, I try to be more gentle with myself. You know what I mean?
What is the wildest or funniest or most inspirational DM that you've ever received?
Okay. So I don't get a lot of DMs, believe it or not, but there's one DM that haunted me for a long time.
Haunting?
So I don't know if this is within the mood of the podcast, but here it is because it's a good story.
Oh, yeah.
So a long time ago, this person, she was female presenting, but it could be a guy. You never know. So they sent me a DM, and she was like, "Oh my God, your Instagram is so inspiring. I've been going through your stories, your story, like it was saying all the right stuff, like your storytelling is so amazing, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Thank you." She was like, "Can I use this picture to do a drawing? Because you're like just like a muse." So I'm like, oh my God, I'm like Penelope Cruz in Pedro Almodovar's movie. I'm like, somebody's a muse. So I'm so excited. So I tell her, of course. So I don't hear from her like a week or two or whatever. And then she sends me this drawing, which I am almost 100% sure that it was an eye drawing. Like it was not a real drawing. So she sent me the drawing, and she was like, "Here you are." But it had like a, what is that called? Like a watermark on it, but a really aggressive one, like the ones that you can barely see anything. And I'm like, "It looks great. Good job, blah, blah, blah." She's like, "How much will you pay for it?"
Oh, hell no. Oh my God, no.
And I'm like, so I told her, "I am so sorry, but I do not pay for unsolicited art. And also, I would never commission." I was like, I would never commission this, first of all. And second of all, that was not what we agreed, right? And she keep DMing me for weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And so, yeah, that was like the wildest DM. But I thought it was so funny because the way that she swooped in was so clever. And I usually don't fall for stuff like that, but that one time, I think she smelled my vulnerability because I just fell for it so hard.
Wild.
And every now and then she will text me again and say, "Hey, I still have your picture."
So she's not even trying to sell new ones. She's trying to sell that.
It's the
first one.
same one,
Wow.
bro.
Oh
The
my
same
gosh.
one.
Wow.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, if she's listening, you know, we celebrate your
Alejandro wants a
craftsmanship.
portrait too.
Yeah,
Gosh,
and he will
I'm good on
pay.
that. I'm good on
He will
that.
pay
I don't
big
need no DMs of that
money.
nature. No. But
Go get him.
that's interesting. That's
Yeah, that was my wildest DM. Yeah, I haven't gotten one that I always wanted one that was like, you know, like one of those sexy ones. I never gotten one of those. But one can dream.
No,
right?
like no sugar daddy ones.
Sugar daddy. No, I think at this time I'm already the sugar daddy. So.
Your face just now was hilarious. You're like, excuse me.
Sugar grandpa maybe.
Sugar grandpa. Oh hell no.
Sugar grandpas.
Oh my God.
I'm all about sugar. I come from the sugar cane field. So if anybody's listening, want to send some sugar, I'm down for sugar daddies, sugar grandpa, sugar sons, sugar siblings. You let me know.
Wait, we
Your
didn't even
siblings, that's
get
an
to
interesting
talking
one.
about your twin sister because that
Oh,
was the
yeah.
thing that stood out to me, and I was like, oh, I have to ask you about your twin sister.
Okay, that's me.
Okay, so is she also in the industry? Does she also in LA? How close are you? What was that like growing up with a twin? I've always wanted a twin. All of that.
Oh my goodness. So she's not in LA. She's in Puerto Rico. She's not in the industry, but she's a very gifted singer. She can blow, like she's really good. And she's a teacher too. She teaches elementary school.
I love this family of teachers and professors.
It's in my blood. It's crazy.
It is.
And she sings for our church, so she is one of the main singers for the choir. So that's how she channels her artistic abilities. And yeah, we're really close. We text pretty much every day. We fight like crazy because there's no difference of status, right? We're the same age, like, so there's no filter about like I'm the oldest or anything
Well,
like that.
who came out first?
She did.
Your face.
She did, and she knows it.
That's funny.
I knew you were gonna ask that.
Yeah, there is status. She came out first. She was
Okay.
she was out in the world first. Okay.
Agree to disagree. And, what else? Oh, so growing up, we did every single class together except for third grade. My dad tried to switch us from elementary school, and they put us in separate grades. We did so horrible, and so they switched us back to the school, and they put us together again. So it was fine. It wasn't that we were separated. It was like that school that they put us in was tough, but yeah, we did everything together. I personally loved it because I always felt like a little bit of a loner, and I have a little bit of social anxiety. So my sister was the opposite to that. Like she was always like very social, very good about like parties and stuff like that. So it was really rare for us to not get invited. Like you wouldn't invite a twin and not the other twin.
Yeah.
But it worked the other way too, because then when I have friends, like they will invite her too, and like we all every now and then will have like the whole like, well, they're my friends, like stuff like that, like petty stuff, like kid stuff. But yeah, we have a lot of memories that we share together, which I appreciate. Crazy enough, my dad is also a twin. So he has a twin. I know. So he has a twin sister, and they were the opposite. When they were in school, they didn't do anything together. So my dad kind of make a point about us really connecting in that way, which I really appreciated. And yeah, and how was it? I don't know any difference, so I cannot tell you what it is to not have siblings or have a younger siblings. But I thought it was cool. Like we got to do everything together, like graduate together, prom, all of that stuff we share. We have the same friends, so that's kind of unique, and I think it's a blessing.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. That was so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my best friends just gave birth yesterday to 2 twins, and it's a boy and a girl.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
So the thing with us is just that the twin thing, the only thing about us being twin is that we're the same age, right? But we don't share any genetic similarities. I mean, we do come from the same two people, but that compound can be different, right?
Right.
From science, we know that you can be like 90% your dad and 10% your mom, or 50-50, or so we're just really siblings that were happen to be born in on the same situation, kind of like we drove the bus at the same time, basically, to life. So that's that. So we're both Pisces, obviously, and we're like I tell Alejandro sometimes, it's like sometimes there's a Pisces that go this way and there's one that go that way, and those are very different Pisceses. So that's my sister and I too.
Well, it's
Oh,
true. I
that's
mean, even the
awesome.
symbol itself is like two fish going in totally different directions. And I feel like that happens to me so often, where it's like I'll be heading in a course of action, steadfast and strong, and then some blow of the wind might totally change the course. And then it's like, well, here we are, regardless
We're
of
in
what
another
I
path.
knew, where I was going, and keep on swimming. It's
Yeah.
silly, but whatever. That's what makes us so unique, so beautiful, so sparkly and shiny amidst the crazy waters of life.
Yeah, the thing is, it's about enjoying the journey, and so sometimes hardships is just, it's about changing course and just embracing the new path. So much of our culture here in the United States is about like the goal. Yeah, it's about like, oh, I'm gonna get this one booking or this one award or this one, but what about the journey, right? So I can talk about Edward getting into Fullerton College, but like we really unpacked today, there was 30 years of journey there, right? And if I don't embrace that journey, then it's tougher. So it's just about the journey and kind of like reassessing where you are, healing, getting to the next thing. I think that's important. So yeah.
There is truly no mountain high enough. My goodness.
Okay, Diana.
I know that's right. Well, on the sing-songy note, though, our DM of the week asks, what is the last song that made you jump into character to lip sync for your mirror?
I've been into Luis Miguel.
Yeah.
So Luis Miguel is a very famous Mexican ballad singer. He's like a power ballad from he's been around for a long time, but in the 90s he was really delving into older ballads. So in the 90s he was recording stuff from like the 50s and the 40s, and so I was listening to one of his albums this week and I sang the hell out of it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, do you want to give us a little sampling? No, you don't have. We're not trying to put you on the spot. You don't have to do that either. But
you want me to sing in your podcast? Oh my goodness!
No, you don't have to. Feel no force. It was just a mere question.
Reloj, no marques las horas, porque voy a enloquecer. That's all you get.
Okay.
You and your sister are so talented at singing.
No, my sister is so much. I'm telling you, she is the singer. Yeah. I'm gonna put her in a film at some point for sure. Yeah.
Well, Teddy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and sharing with us your journey, your helpful tips, and your beautiful light. But can you please take a moment to give our listeners an opportunity to follow you on Instagram, keep up with any work that you have coming up?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's really a treat. Thank you. So my website is teddyrodriguez.com. You can find all of my handles there. But if you don't like going to websites, it's all over it. It's at Teddy Alexis. And I'm on Instagram, I'm in YouTube, I'm in Twitter, I'm in everywhere, baby. Just find me.
find you.
Well, thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Well, everyone, this has been another episode of Damsels in the DMs. As always, please rate and review. Tell us all the things that you love. And what else do they have to do, Alejandra?
They have to subscribe, review, send us your letters, send us your DMs, send us voicemail if you want. My goodness. If you feel comfortable having your voice shared on the podcast, do it. Send us something. Send us a joke. Send us a question. Send us something that's on your mind. And we're here to talk about it. We're here to answer or provide any advice that we can. But in the meantime, in the downtime.
Until next time,
it's going down in the DMs.
bye.
Bye.
DMs, we don't need them. We just leave them.
Please.
Yeah.
It's going down in the DMs. Bye.